I did not have a conversation with any juror about anything related to this case.
Was your verdict influenced in any way by the communications of the clerk of court in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
I find that the clerk of court is not completely credible as a witness. Did clerk of court Hill's comments have any impact on the verdict of the jury? I find that the answer to this question is no.
Alec Murdaugh's motion for a new trial has been denied. But was this the right call? And what's next for Clerk of Court Becky Hill? And Erika Stefanko took the stand, deflecting from her role in Ashley Biggs' murder. This morning, Ashley's best friend joins us live on the show. And tensions have been running high in the courtroom as Jennifer Crumbley's defense attorney has been making some outlandish comments. So we're wondering, could her likability or unlikability be impacting the jury? It's all coming up next, plus much more right here on Opening Statements. Good Tuesday morning to you, and welcome to Opening Statements. I'm your host, Julie Grant. It's great to have you along with us this morning. If you're new to the program, first of all, welcome. Second of all, thank you. Third of all, we're just so glad that you're here. I think you'll find that we designed this show a lot like the actual opening statements at trial. Just like they get the jury all primed, ready to go to hear the case evidence. When the testimony begins, well, that's what we do here on Opening Statements. We get you all ready for the testimony and the big trials that we're covering on Court TV Live. And also, we cover all the major cases making headlines in the world of true crime. So right now, let's start by having you grab a cup of coffee, because it's time for my opening statement. Someone's pants were on fire. As I was watching the Alec Murdaugh case evidentiary hearing, I know I heard the sound of fire trucks heading to the courthouse. Whose pants were on fire? Becky Hill's or Juror Z's? I know that at least one pair of pants had to have been on fire, as both of their statements cannot be true. I also know this. You can bet your bottom dollar that the Murdaugh defense team is working on his appeal as we speak. While they lost the battle at the trial court level, they still could win the war at the appellate level. Now, if what Juror Z said was true, can you imagine if it was you on trial? That her verdict was influenced by Becky Hill? Would you think that's fair? I know I wouldn't want that for myself at my jury trial. If it happened, Juror Z was the only one saying that those remarks were made. And I'm wondering why? Why just her? And then there seemed to be a bit of a contradiction with Juror Z in what influenced her in her decision. What was in her affidavit wasn't exactly what she said on the stand to the justice. I was left feeling very confused by it all. Justice Jean Toll said in her decision that Becky Hill is not a completely credible witness. Well, that wasn't confusing. To me, her conduct was unacceptable and offensive to the cornerstone of our criminal justice system, and that is a right to a fair trial. Even the worst of the worst deserves a right to a fair trial. And what she did could have caused this whole thing to be overturned. And I've got to tell you, my friends, when I initially heard what Juror Z first said, I thought, it's over, new trial. I was sure that was what the judge was going to do. Nope. The judge said the defense just couldn't prove the statements caused actual prejudice. The justice noted that South Carolina law provides the defense has the burden of proof to show that the jury's verdict was or the juror's verdict, I should say rather, was directly impacted adversely. That an improper statement alone isn't enough. And the justice found that they fell short of meeting that burden. Mark my words, they're going to keep on trying. And I can't blame the defense team for that. I would try too, especially after what I heard in that courtroom yesterday. Justice Toll noted that now comes the bigger inquiry by the appellate court, that this was just the conclusion of the request to the trial court. The actual appeal, let's remember, was put on hold for things to go back to the trial court and for Monday's hearing to be had. As an aside, Justice Toll showed everyone why she's had such an illustrious legal career. She follows the rule of law. She ran that hearing like a military boot camp. The focus was always kept in the proper place in the search for the truth. Did we get to the truth? We know Alec Murdaugh is still a convicted killer, right? That's true. According to the trial court, his case was decided fairly on the facts and on the evidence, not on the inappropriate comments made by Becky Hill. After reading the whole entire trial transcript, Justice Toll said that the evidence against him was overwhelming, meaning that with the convictions for the murders of Maggie and Paul, justice was served. But this morning, I ask you, was it served when it comes to his right to a fair trial? My friends, I'm not so sure. That's my opening statement on this Tuesday morning. Let me know if you like it. Right now, I want to give you what's on your daily docket.
Did Jennifer talk to you about her son?
Not a ton.
Do you remember things that she would say?
Usually it was along the lines of she was having problems with him, or he wasn't acting normal. She had called him weird before.
All right, let's go. Here's a look at some of the cases we're following for you today on Court TV Live. In Michigan, testimony resumes at 9 a.m. in the trial of Jennifer Crumbly, the mother of the Oxford High School shooter. In Ohio, the jury in the pizza delivery murder retrial is due back at 10 a.m. where they could be hearing closing arguments first thing this morning. We're going to keep you posted on that. And in Connecticut, testimony kicks off at 10 a.m. with more law enforcement witnesses taking the stand, talking about the death and the disappearance of beautiful mother of 5, Jennifer Dulos. Right now, we want to take you to Columbia, South Carolina, where Court TV crime and justice correspondent Matt Johnson is standing by with the latest for us on Justice Toll's ruling in the Murdaugh case.
Julie, good morning. After bombshell testimony and fireworks in court at times, Justice Jean Toll handed down her ruling. No new trial for Alec Murdaugh. The convicted killer is serving life behind bars for the murders of his wife Maggie and son Paul. He listened closely to testimony on Monday from Becky Hill, 12 jurors, 1 alternate juror, and another clerk of court. During the hearing, Juror Z testified Hill influenced her verdict, while the other 11 said that she did not. Murdaugh's defense team claims Becky Hill tampered with the jury with biased statements in an effort to get a guilty verdict and sell more copies of her book. On the stand, Becky Hill, clerk of court, said this.
At any time, did you have any conversation with any juror in which you tried to influence their decision?
I did not have a conversation with any juror about anything related to this case.
This whole scheme was about selling books. As you told Rhonda McElveen, if him being found guilty would sell more books.
Your Honor,
isn't that true?
I'd object to the argumentative nature of the question.
And after the verdict, Murdaugh's defense team spoke to the news media out front and said that they will be appealing the verdict. That's the very latest from South Carolina. We'll send it back to you in the studio, Julie.
And as I said, I can't blame them for that. Matt Johnson, thank you so much for that early update. Now, as it stands this morning, Alec Murdaugh's murder convictions stay in place. For now, that is. Now, one thing we want to focus on this morning in this segment of the show is how the justice made a point to say to everyone who was watching and included in her opinion and her rationale and her decision that she didn't find Becky Hill's testimony to be credible.
Did your comments or were your comments in any way phrased in favor of one side or against another side, or were they more of a neutral comment about paying attention?
No, it was not for one side or the other.
During the course of the deliberations, once the jury went back there, did you have any contact with the juries or have any substantive discussion with them?
Not at all.
So, Did Becky Hill lie on the stand? Did we have that pants on fire situation? Let me bring in my guests. They are both practicing attorneys in the state of South Carolina. I have with me criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor John Mobley, and former state solicitor and former SLED agent attorney Tommy Pope. Wonderful to see you gentlemen this morning. I cannot wait to hear what you think. Let me start with the question, was this the right call? I want to get your takes on that, and then we're going to dissect the testimony of Juror Z and Becky Hill together. John Mobley, start us off, please.
Well, Julie, I got to call it like I said. Judge Toll dropped the ball on this one. She got it wrong. Everyone keeps throwing around the term jury tampering. That's not the standard. There only has to be an improper communication that affects the outcome. That's what the jury said happened. So it has to be a unanimous verdict, all 12. It doesn't matter if the other 11 said it didn't affect their decision. The fact that one juror said the clerk's comments affected her decision is all that, the judge needed to hear. And I don't understand why, based on that testimony, she didn't make that decision.
John, thank you for that. Tommy Pope, tell us, do you agree or disagree, please?
John's been on the other side of the courtroom with me plenty, and I always disagree with John. So I'm gonna do it now.
Today's no different, huh? Yeah, that's okay.
That's
okay.
I think
both brilliant guys.
I think that she showed that the case laws. There's really some questions, whether she was applying the right standard or not. But she clearly delineated everything. She did. I think it was interesting. There was some conflict in that juror's testimony. Now, as far as Becky Hill's conduct in general, and I'm sure we'll talk about that, it just crossed the line in so many ways. It just seems to me that based on what Justice Toll laid out, the standard wasn't broken. At one point the lady said that, or the juror said that it was because of the pressure of the other jurors, which obviously we don't get into what goes on in the jury room as much. So I think our Supreme Court will determine ultimately whether that's the proper application of the law, or it's more like John said, the fact that it was even said at all will come to bear. So I don't think we've heard the last of it.
No, you were right on that, Tommy. And you're both right. You're both really saying something that is the same, that there's a question of, was it the right law that was applied here? Should it have been just, statements are enough to send the whole case back for a new trial, or statements coupled with actual prejudice? That's the standard the judge used here, and said the defense fell short in proving that there was actual prejudice that occurred to Alec Murdaugh. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty, the testimony, because I was left thinking, I know somebody's pants are on fire, not sure whose. It was quite confusing. I was left with my head spinning. So what we've done is we've put together a couple clips where we take Juror Z's testimony and then Becky Hill's response. We've got 3 separate clips. Let's look at clip number 1 about the smoke break.
Smokers on the jury asked to be allowed to take smoke breaks, but they were told they could not smoke until after the deliberations were complete. Did you hear that?
Yes, ma'am.
Including the business about the smokers?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have any interaction with the jurors or anything to do with them having smoke breaks or anything like that?
I did not.
After the verdict and immediately before sentencing, Ms. Hill pressured the jury to speak as a group to reporters from a television show. Is that an accurate statement of what she said?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you at all pressure the jurors to speak, or did you just tell them that it was their option to speak or not, and here's the contact information?
I did not pressure the jury to speak.
Okay, whose pants are on fire? John Mobley, start us off with your thoughts on this clip, please.
Well, I think, whenever you have 2 different people in the same conversation, it is not uncommon for the individuals to have different perceptions of what was said or how it was said. I don't think that is always determinative of somebody lying. I think just people have different perceptions and different memories of what was exactly said. So the fact that you got different versions does not indicate to me automatically that someone is lying. Now, that being said, I do believe that Becky Hill is the face of misconduct in office. She's the face of greed, and she is completely not credible. So if you're going to ask me to, choose between her word and the word of multiple jurors, I'll take the other juries every single time.
Appreciate it, John. All right, let's look at another clip now. This one deals with whether there was pressure to reach a verdict.
Why did you think the jury would not be out very long? Had you communicated with jurors?
I had not communicated with jurors about anything related to this trial at all. I've been a court reporter for at least 14 years. I was clerk of court for 3. And you just get to where you kind of see things happen as they progress. And it's a guess. It's a gut feeling. And that's all that I meant by that.
Okay, Tommy Pope, to you on this one, please. Whose pants might be on fire?
I think what concerns me, and I'm going to go a little level deeper, is not as much in that last clip as the first two. She tries to distance herself from things that really a clerk would do. A clerk could talk to you about the smoke break, or a clerk could interact with the jurors. You know, a clerk could provide information. You know, the judge normally says you can talk to the media if you want to. The fact that she distances herself so adamantly from it makes me more concerned that it was more involved. What I see as an assessment of her is, again, you know, I've talked 100 times when we got wrapped up with the Susan Smith talk. She has gotten swept along and lost her way in what she should be doing as a clerk.
You're right, Tommy. Great points from you both. Stand by if you both would kindly. John Mobley, Tommy Pope on the show this morning. Here's what's coming up next in What's Trending in True Crime.
11 of the jurors very unconditionally said they either heard no comment, or if they heard a comment, it had no effect. One juror was ambivalent in her testimony.
Despite one juror saying the verdict was improperly influenced, Justice Toll has denied Murdaugh's motion for a new trial. So we're asking our power panel, was this the right call? We'll debate it next. And for the first time, Erika Stefanko took the stand in her own defense. But how was her testimony received by the victims' loved ones? We're speaking with Ashley Biggs' best friend this morning, live on Opening Statements.
Did a contentious divorce lead to a killing?
Jennifer Dulos vanished in 2019 and has never been found.
Her estranged husband was charged with her murder, but died by suicide before going to trial.
Now his girlfriend, Michelle Traconis,
stands trial for her alleged role in the disappearance.
I think this is going to be a really fascinating case. They've thrown everything up against this defendant.
The Missing Mom Conspiracy Trial. Live coverage today, only on Court TV.
Welcome back. And now for what's trending in true crime. Alec Murdaugh's bid for a new trial denied by the trial court, despite a juror stating that clerk of court Becky Hill made potentially damaging comments to her and to the panel ahead of the deliberations.
The court allowed public attention of the moment to overcome her duty. I have read the entire transcript of this lengthy trial, not an easy task. I have studied in detail all of the authorities cited. I have independently researched the case law, learned treatises, and scholarly articles on the subject. Although there is certainly a split in the federal circuits and in the states on the standard of review, I simply do not believe that the authority of our South Carolina Supreme Court requires a new trial in a very lengthy trial such as this on the strength of some fleeting and foolish comments by a publicity-influenced clerk of court.
Justice Toll pointing to the defense's failure to prove those comments actually impacted the juror's decision in finding Alec Murdaugh guilty of those 2 homicides, the killing of his wife Maggie and his son Paul. So was that the right decision? We have quite a power panel with us this morning. Let's welcome them all in. Still with me, former solicitor and SLED agent, the man who famously prosecuted Susan Smith, attorney Tommy Pope, criminologist, author, and professor at St. Thomas University, Dr. Debbie Goodman. And in the studio with me, attorney and prosecutor Wendy Patrick. Wonderful to have you all here. here. Wow. Since I already asked Tommy his take, I know what Tommy's going to say on this. So, Dr. Debbie and Attorney Wendy Patrick, I want to get your takes on the question of, was this the judge's right call? Was this the right call under the law here? Wendy, you're closer to me in proximity. I'm going to start with you, please.
Well, the law isn't clear. That's just it. And that's why she made the record that she did, is when you've got a split in the circuits, you've got a split in federal court opinion, state court opinion, you're going to have to use a little bit of common sense, judicial temperament, and experience. This justice has been on the bench for decades and no doubt drew on what she has seen over the years in making this decision. You know, and the way I think that's probably going to be upheld is the amount of time she took building the foundation that's going to be necessary for the appellate arguments. I mean, she heard from only the necessary witnesses. Remember, she didn't want to make it a mini trial against the court clerk, but then she gathered all the collateral information she needed to come to the right decision. And you'll notice in that clip you just played, the record she made reading the transcript of the 6-week trial, looking at the case law, independent research. That's a rock-solid foundation upon which the appellate court's going to have to take another fresh look, but I think her ruling is solid.
Mm-hmm. She was very humble, too, in the way that she said, I'm the trial court, and there are questions that I cannot answer, and that the other higher courts are far more equipped than I am to answer those questions. So certainly a big nod to her with humility there, and making that well-reasoned opinion for this case that so many people have been watching. And we know that she said the evidence was overwhelming here. She made a point to say the evidence in these murder convictions was overwhelming. Dr. Debbie Goodman, I've got to go to you on this point, please. An expert in the field of criminology. Alec Murdaugh, he is one of the most talked about defendants currently, and probably will be for many, many years as he continues on this pursuit. Your thoughts on the evidence, please, Dr. Debbie.
Certainly. Good morning, Julie, Wendy, Tommy. Always a pleasure to join. I would agree about the evidence. If we just take a look back at the totality of this case, I'll just refer to a few M's, if you will. We have motive, we have money, we have the Murdaugh name, and we have murder. So I think that Alex Murdaugh was motivated by money. Why? Because he has led a privileged life. He has been successful in the legal arena. The family lineage, generation to generation, has enjoyed scholarship and contribution to the law. And now here he is on a real spiral into the abyss. And I think now we get to the Murdaugh name. He wants to make sure that it's stellar, that it's still with status and intact, yet his own behaviors are just absolutely astonishing. So we start with the two homicides. I mean, to kill one's own wife, that's its own category, Julie. We call that uxoricide, when a husband kills a wife. To kill a child, filicide, when a parent kills the child. And we keep going. We have two charges of first-degree felony, wrongful possession, unlawful possession of the shotgun, which is used to kill his son, Paul. It's horrendous.
It is horrendous. You're absolutely right, Dr. Debbie. And I love the rationale. I love how you lay things out, just as if you were giving a lecture. You know, we've got the motive, the money, the murder, and Murdaugh. And one M that was missing, mystery. To you, this is not a mystery, is it, Dr. Debbie, who did this incredibly heinous crime? He still maintains his innocence, but that's beside the point. We've got to talk about something else. What's next for the woman who maintains she said nothing wrong? Let's talk about Becky Hill now, right? She was somewhat at the center of all of this, right? And we saw her take the stand, deny that she made any inappropriate comments to the jurors. Did she concede anything about her communications? Let's watch.
Before Mr. Murdaugh testified, did you tell the jury not to be fooled by the evidence presented by Mr. Murdaugh's lawyers?
Mr. Harpootlian, I never talked to the jurors about any of the evidence.
Okay, the
in
answer
this
would be
case.
yes or no, then you can explain. Did you say that?
No.
Okay. Did you ever instruct the jury to watch him closely immediately before he testified, looking at his actions, looking at his movements? Did you ever tell the jury to do that?
No.
Did you ever tell the jury to pay attention to Mr. Murdaugh's testimony?
To pay attention, not specifically to his testimony. I did tell the jury to pay attention
To what?
Just generally in the hallway when I was speaking.
Not to him?
No.
Just any witness?
Right.
All right, so we're asking the question, now what might the next steps be for the Murdaugh defense team? Let's turn to our power panel. Tommy Pope, I want to start with you this time around. What do you think their next move is going to be?
For the prosecution, for the defense?
For the defense, please, Tommy. Yes, for the Murdaugh defense team.
Sure. I think, anything that happens to the clerk will happen through the criminal justice system and the SLED investigation. So for the defense, it's the appeal and trying to take it up, what we talked about last segment about changing the law.
Changing the law. Yeah, you wonder. I mean, I keep hearing about the Green case, the case that the judge said is a controlling law on this one, Tommy. I want to go read the case now after what I saw yesterday. Really, I mean, it's quite intriguing. So next steps in terms of what, if anything, this defense team can do, or what may happen with Becky Hill. Dr. Debbie Goodman, your thoughts on all that, please.
Certainly. Well, just listening to her speak, Julie, I think there's definitely a question mark, of course, about her credibility first, which is paramount, but then this consistency and continuity of what she's saying. So I would like to see clarification on what she can and cannot communicate with the jury, and I think that will be pivotal in an outcome.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for that, Dr. Debbie. Last but not least, Wendy Patrick, take us home if you would, please. Your thoughts on what's coming next.
I'll tell you what's coming next, and I'll sort of bring it home quickly. So I think it's going to be a training moment for clerks, courts of clerk everywhere. What you do and don't say to jurors, what your role is, and how close you get, and boundaries, what you can and can't discuss. For the defense team, you heard what their plans are. They gave that press conference, and they basically said, hey, we're out to change the law. Well, unfortunately, they were up against a justice that had herself engaged in such a thorough review and analysis of existing law and came to that conclusion. How'd you like to be the Court of Appeal that's reviewing the ex-Supreme Court Chief Justice's case law decision? Right. So she brings a lot of credibility to the analysis. But hey, you know what? They're gonna do what they need to do to represent their client, and they're gonna file their briefs, and we'll probably be discussing it on the back end.
Exactly, Wendy. Can't blame them for continuing the fight. And she is quite a learned justice with such an impressive career. It was a real treat to see Justice Toll in action. It really was. Big thanks to my wonderful power panel, Dr. Debbie Goodman, Attorney Tommy Pope. Thank you both kindly for your time and expertise. Attorney Wendy Patrick is coming along with us in our Tipping the Scales of Justice segment. Now, before we go to break, want to let you know that at the top of the hour, we're going to be breaking down Juror Z's testimony with body language expert Susan Constantine. She ran a special voice analysis on Juror Z's answers. And now we're going to be discussing whether Juror Z was truthful with the court. You won't want to miss it. That's coming up 9 a.m. Eastern Time on Court TV Live. When we come back, we're going to break down defendant Erika Stefanko's claims that there was never a plan to murder Ashley Biggs. How did her testimony sit with the victim's loved ones? We're going to find out as we welcome Ashley Biggs' best friend on the show next. And we have a closer look at Jennifer Crumbley's defense attorney. Oh my, the hole just keeps being dug deeper and deeper every day. So how could her various outbursts and comments be impacting the jury deciding her client's fate? We'll talk about it in What's Tipping the Scales. Welcome back to Opening Statements. I'm Julie Grant. This morning on the program, we want to shine a spotlight on the callous murder of mother Ashley Biggs. She was killed back in 2012 by her ex-husband and the father of her child, Chad Cobb, and allegedly by his then wife, Erika Stefanko, all because of a custody battle. And for over 10 years, Ashley's loved ones have struggled to understand why this heinous crime occurred, all while praying that justice will be served now that Erika Stefanko is being retried. And on Monday, Ashley's family and friends had to watch as one of her accused killers, Erika Stefanko, took to the witness stand claiming that the plan was never to murder Ashley.
Was the plan then or at any point to kill Ashley Biggs?
No.
Why not?
Aside from the fact that you don't kill people?
Yes.
it wouldn't have made any sense. I mean, the goal was to get Grace back. And if Chad's being focused on as a murder suspect, then it negates the whole purpose.
Now, Ashley's best friend is going to be joining us in just a moment by phone. In the meantime, we want to talk about something else that many of you have been talking about since we watched Erika Stefanko on the stand, and that was her body language. Did you believe her when she was saying that her plan was just to plant the drugs so that they could call in to 911 an erratic driver report and police would pull over Ashley Biggs and find the dope in her car and then the custody battle would be over? Did you believe that? Let's bring in our body language expert on the show this morning to talk about that. I have with us Tiffany Lee. She's a body language expert and also a communications specialist. Tiffany, good morning. Great to have you. I want to play that clip for you where Erika Stefanko is saying she never planned to do a homicide. She just planned to plant some dope. Let's watch.
What was Chad's plan?
He was going to get a hold of some meth from, I guess, somebody that he went to high school with, sold it.
You said meth?
Yes.
Methamphetamine?
Yes.
Okay.
And that he was going to place that in Ashley's car. And then that we would either call her, the police or somebody in authority to get the police there so they would find the drugs.
What would be the purpose of that plan?
So that Ashley would be arrested and so that we could go to court and say, look, she's been arrested for drug trafficking. You know, she's not fit to parent.
And are you fit to parent Erika Stefanko? That's what I'm wondering. Tiffany Lee, tell me what's on your mind watching that clip, please.
Oh man, we got a lot of contradictory movements going on here. So it's, I believe there may have been something going on, but definitely. So when she's talking about, look at my notes here. When she's talking about the plan, right? In the very beginning, she does this tongue protrusion, which kind of pokes her tongue out and licks her lips. So she's doing this move. That thing. And so when we see that, I over-exaggerate it so you guys can see. But when you see that, that is an indicator that someone can be keeping something from you or that they've got some kind of strong emotional feel about whatever it is that you're talking about or whatever questions you ask. And then when she talks about going to go get the meth, she's saying yes, but then she's shaking her head no at the same time. So that leads me to believe that there may have been something in there where the meth or the drugs came into play, but there may have also been some underlying reasons, and that we're now talking about why she's being retried again.
All right, Tiffany. Yeah, this is the first we've heard of the meth story. I watched trial number 1 closely. That never came up. Sounds to me like a story that Ms. Stefanko concocted while she was sitting in her prison cell. But that's just me. That's the former prosecutor and me talking. Let me show you another clip, please, Tiffany. Your analysis is always brilliant. In this clip, Erika Stefanko is saying that she's a victim. She's claiming that her former husband, Chad Cobb, who we know is a killer, was abusive to her. Let's watch.
You describe Chad as like running the family.
He was in charge. Kind of like a general with his troops, I guess.
Okay.
He was very focused on discipline and he was violent.
Okay. I don't want to get too much into it, but was he abusive to the children?
Yes.
Okay. Was he abusive to you?
Yes.
Tiffany, I caught something. She closed her eyes there when she said yes and nodded. What does that mean?
Yeah, that was exactly what I was going to go to. So she does that a lot. So that's eye blocking. We close our eyes and we don't like what we see or we hear. So she's closing her eyes as she's talking. So that to me can be an indicator that maybe there wasn't abuse or maybe it wasn't to the level that she's saying it was, but there's definitely something going on because when we see that eye block, that's our internal compass of, I don't want to talk about this, I don't want to see this, and I'm trying to think of something else at the same time.
Yeah. Tiffany, thank you for that. What else, if anything, did you pick up on when you were studying her in that clip where she's claiming to be a victim of abuse?
She's doing a lot of leaning to the side. So when you see people kind of doing this rocking back and forth thing, that can be a sign, one, of anxiety and stress, which I'm sure she is under with everything she's going on. But I'm seeing a lot of, like I said, that eye blocking is massive. She's doing a lot of lip blocking, which is this right here. So trying to keep the words from coming out subconsciously. So I'm definitely seeing that. So we've got 3 signs going on. We've got eye blocking, we've got the tongue protrusion, and then we've got the lip locking. So that's kind of a triple threat right there. So definitely pay attention, because she could be up to something. She could be hiding something.
I appreciate the analysis so much. Tiffany Lee, communications specialist and body language expert. It's always great to have you on Opening Statements. Thank you for your expertise on that. And let's keep talking about Erika Stefanko, shifting from the body language to the impact of her testimony. What impact might it have had on those people who love Ashley Biggs the most? Well, we've invited one of those people on the program this morning to tell us. Courtney Boswell is joining us by phone. She was Ashley's best friend. Courtney, good morning to you. And might I just start by saying I am so sorry for your loss. Just wanted to say I am so sorry on behalf of all of us at Court TV that you endured such a painful loss of your best friend.
Thank you so much, and good morning to you, too.
Thank you kindly, Courtney. Courtney, tell us, what did it feel like when you were hearing that story told by Erika Stefanko about trying to just plant meth to get Ashley arrested?
I personally found it a little amusing. They obviously were prepared for a murder that night. They did not bring meth, to my knowledge. This is the first time we were hearing about it. So my question was, if that was the case, how come they never found it that night anywhere? Whether it was at the home, the car, the book bag, at the scene, even in the woods, there was nothing. So it was a lie, like we knew she would do when she took the stand, and try to come up with something to make it seem more legit, and it did not fly.
Right. You're right, Courtney. No, I was not buying what she was selling. I kept thinking that this is probably what she's thought long and hard about it. She was sitting in her prison cell. In my legal opinion, she's lucky she got this retrial. And I thought one thing fortunate for the state of Ohio and for, people like yourself who love Ashley Biggs so much and want to see justice for her family, that at least we got that admission from Erika Stefanko saying that she admitted to making the call. I thought that was pretty big, because at least that's one good fact. What did you think about that?
I was surprised that she owned up to it. I did not think that she would, as we saw her lying about not threatening Ashley, even though we saw the fact that there was evidence of that. So I was definitely surprised that she was honest about it.
Right, Courtney. I was too. I thought that was a big win for prosecutors that she gave them, because she needed that fact to tell her story about the meth. Tell me, when you think back at the time right before Ashley was killed, Courtney, was Ashley wary of Chad and Erika?
Absolutely. She lived in fear, and that was a lot of the reason why Ashley was in and out when GC was younger. It started with abuse when Ashley was pregnant with her and Chad pushed her down the steps. So she was in and out because of the fear, and then it just grew worse as Brittany got involved and as Erika got involved, and it just boiled over to where we're at now.
Wow. Was that what caused Ashley and Chad to break up, his physical violence toward her?
It was a big part of it.
How did Ashley manage that? Because that's not easy. I mean, I applaud her for getting out of that relationship, and it's really a shame what happened then later on, because he continued to exert that control, that power and control over her, obviously to the point, that ended in her death. But that couldn't have been easy for her. How did she manage it, after having a baby with him?
She lived her life in fear. She was always worried about her daughter, worried about her own well-being. If she was going to have some type of new abuse put on her from Chad, it was a lot of stories, a lot of fear. You could see the fear in her eyes that she was scared of Chad, even early on when they were together and things were good, supposedly.
Definitely. Our hearts just break for her family, for her daughter, and, you know, for people like you, Courtney, her friends, you know, who love her so much. We appreciate your time this morning, and Courtney, would love to have you back as this case continues progressing, and every good wish to all of you as you continue healing with the loss of your friend.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you kindly, Courtney. Take good care. When we come back here on Opening Statements, we're going to be gearing up for another tense day in Michigan in the case against Jennifer Crumbley. We're going to talk about her lawyer and her lawyer's likability and whether it's tipping the scales.
The mother of a convicted school shooter now faces charges herself.
Involuntary manslaughter and 4 counts of it.
Both James and Jennifer Crumbley failed to ask their son if he had his gun.
This is beyond neglect. It's unforgivable.
The first parents in America to be charged in a mass school shooting. This is brand new territory.
The school shooter mom trial. Live coverage today on Court TV.
Now for what's tipping the scales. The delivery of Jennifer Crumbley's attorney has become a lightning rod in this already emotionally charged case, from referencing Taylor Swift in her opening statements to an insensitive comment about killing herself after a frustrating moment in court with her computer on Friday. Now that moment led to an apology delivered on Monday. Take a look.
I am apologizing for that comment. I want to apologize to the jurors, to the audience, to all involved, and specifically to the victims and the families of the victims. I truly did not mean to say the comment I made.
I believe that.
Thank you.
So we're wondering, will her actions and her likability or unlikability tip the scales of justice in favor of the state of Michigan? Let me bring back in my guest, very seasoned trial attorney, has served as a prosecutor for many years, Wendy Patrick. So happy to have you on the couch with us. So likability, we know it's really important at trial. Do you think it's at play here with this attorney in maybe a bad way?
You know, it's always at play. I could spend the whole rest of the hour talking about attorney likability and how it influences cases. You know, we think it's all about the evidence, and to some extent it is, but remember, the spin on the evidence is influenced by the likability of the lawyers. Jurors and the judge, by the way, even though they try to be impartial, they're drawn to one side or the other based on bonding, based on personality. I have to say, in the clip you just showed, that defense attorney did what she should have done. It was a very authentic, heartfelt apology that the judge validated right away, saying, I believe that. So sometimes lawyers think, well, they just tossed their whole case, they ruined it for their client. But actually, sometimes it's a humanizing point in the trial when you have a lawyer on either side make a mistake and then fall on their sword and profusely and authentically apologize. Big difference.
I agree. She did the right thing with that apology. It needed to happen. That was one of those moments that started overshadowing the evidence, because it was a comment that was insensitive. She was talking about wanting to kill herself because she was frustrated her computer wasn't working at counsel table. I mean, just talk about open mouth, insert the foot, and offend everyone sitting in that courtroom. That's really what happened. And people were already kind of riled up, Wendy, because she talked about Taylor Swift and quoted a line from one of the song lyrics about you can't put a Band-Aid on a bullet hole. And so people were already upset about that. What do you think? Any advice for her? If you could tell her something, you know, as a seasoned attorney, what would you say to her today?
A closed mouth gathers no foot. And the way I would phrase that as a lawyer would be less is more. Less is more. Editorialism is bound to get you into trouble. It's why somebody reading off a teleprompter stops when they're supposed to stop. It's why if you're being interviewed, when you're done with your soundbite, you're done. It's what you say next, and it's what you say off the cuff that's more likely to cause a problem. This has happened repeatedly in this trial. So my advice to her would be not only less is more, but really think through what you want to say, and then if you have to, fashion your statement to where you're not making any comparisons, whether it's to euphemisms, metaphors, or rock stars. Just keep it out of this particular trial, because we're going to extend grace a couple of times, but not forever.
Right. I love how you put that. Wendy Patrick, thank you for that. We'll see you later on Court TV Live.